the videos, behind the gameplay and all that stuff. You see Bryce all the time, you know, inside out by now.
I only have one dimension. Just one.
Just the one.
This is it. Awesome.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to the Gfinity Studios for our second edition of The Red Room. Tonight's guests are, as ever, the gorgeous Mr. Bryce Tacular. How are you, mate?
I'm pretty good. Recovering.
Recovering.
Now on the ghost grind.
You look good. The wonderful Infused Jake, fresh from his second EGL victory. How are you feeling?
I'm very good, thank you.
You're looking good?
Yeah, a bit hectic from the ghost grind, I guess. Not as much as other people, but yeah, I've been playing a fair bit of COD. I've been enjoying it, yeah.
Good man. And the wonderful Benny Central. How are you, mate?
Yeah, not too bad. I'm not like these guys. Absolutely, like kind of ghost grind, like 3 a.m. in the morning with everyone else. Like every single person, especially in like the YouTube community, just being up from like early in the morning till like I'm scared of everyone's playtime. It's like they fit what they do in like a month or 2 months into like 3 days, and it's just like everyone's just there going, "I've got to make videos." It's been a good laugh though. But you know, it's tough.
It's hard work, isn't it?
Mental strain.
I keep hearing that the sales of Pro Plus and Lucozade are going through the roof at the moment, so that everyone can dig in and get enough playtime. So with Ghosts being released and being out just under a week now, talk to me about it. What are the kind of things you like about it?
Hit registration on this game is really good, and that always matters a lot when you're playing, because nobody ever likes having that trouble of hitting somebody and then they just run off. So that's been pretty good. I mean, there's always going to be the few little things like a little bit of lag compensation and that sort of happen in the game, but at the moment I'm just getting the grips with it, trying to unlock everything, trying to really nail down. The other thing is that there are like 2 events in a few weeks coming up, so it was like, quick, get the rules sorted. What do you make of this? What do you make of this? I'm like, so I'm not even enjoying the game as much, because you have to sit there and think about all the ramifications of every game mode and every gun you're using, and does this work? And
can we include that? Does that got to be banned? Yeah, etc.
What's going to get me shouted at? All that sort of thing.
Everything probably.
Yes. Pistols only this year.
Good stuff. Benny, you've been playing it a lot. What do you like?
I kind of like, to be honest, I have to admit with Brycey there, the hit registration and everything is really, really nice, because compared to like Black Ops 2 and everything, you're just like, this is bullcrap or whatever, like it's absolute rubbish, and you're just like, what? No one ever dies, like especially me, because like everyone complains, makes some sort of excuse, like everyone has their own little personal excuse, like my hit like lag internet is rubbish and stuff like that. And it works really, really well. It plays the nicest in like terms of the actual play. The only one issue I've had was the map size, but I think we'll probably go into that in a bit. But like other than that, like, I really like how it plays, and overall all the guns are really balanced. Other than that MSBS, that is a nightmare gun. It's just like you see someone comes down the corner and will just pop you off, and it's just like nah, not happy at all. I think I've died like off a few like really nice streaks to that thing, and it's just like you just look at them. But it's like reminds me a bit like I remember a few people saying like Black Ops 1, but right. Like a lot of people have ghosts and like silent skills and like stuff like that, because everyone the maps are so big.
Okay.
But other than that, I've been really, really enjoying it.
All right. Okay. And Jake, obviously you're a pro player. How have you found picking the game up since you started playing?
I was going to say it's probably the first COD I've played where the connection's really been, the hit reg and stuff like that has been absolutely perfect. You know, I think I'd be lying if I didn't say I wasn't one of the people that moans more than other people. I'm the worst of it, but I haven't moaned at all. I've really enjoyed it playing online, and yeah, as Ben was saying, I'd say the maps are a bit hard to adjust to. Is really different from other CODs. It's the first COD I think where they're trying to change the structure of every map. It's not that same 3-lane layout you have on every map. It's kind of like jungled, and this is that problem in Publix. What in every game you seem to get shot in the back quite a lot, but I think people just need to adjust, get used to it, and people will get used to it. But my biggest problem, I'd say, would be the game modes. That's from a esports competitive point of view. The gamers, it's going to be hard to see what ones we want to use, but I think we can get around that problem if we just have a bit more testing. That's basically what I've been doing all week, just testing different things to see what works. And it's hard, but I think even though we don't have hard point capture the flags and things like that, I think domination can be good. People are all moaning about it on Twitter and stuff like that, saying how it's not going to work, but I think it can work. It's just people need to get used to it.
Right. Okay. Because it's new, people, a lot of it is undiscovered, and I suppose everyone's going to kind of have certain reservations, like when anything changes. But what other areas of improvement do you think there could be?
It's difficult, right? Because I've been trying not to judge, because realistically the game's only been out a few days.
Yeah.
I mean, I saw you guys like 2 days ago at the launch, so it hasn't been an awful lot you can get into. Because I always find that as soon as you play a game of Call of Duty, give it 2 months and you'll look at it in a completely different way. Like when you first jump onto a map, you don't realise the ebb and the flow of the map when you jump on it straight away because you can't tell, where the choke points are and all that. So for me, it's always going to be difficult to judge a game this early on of just what is going to work and not work. I mean, a few of the people were saying about the maps Jake just mentioned. I'm not the greatest fan of them at the moment, but how they're going to play on when you try to put it in a competitive mode, when people start actually understanding the maps, I don't know. I mean, they've actually tried something a little bit different. It's not the usual flow of Call of Duty that you've seen.
Right.
I can't agree that it's working at the moment because of my experiences that I've had playing the game.
Yeah.
On whether that's just because I'm trying to play like the other Call of Duties or what it is, it's very difficult. Like it doesn't seem to be like we'll go back to the quintessential point that is always made. Call of Duty 4 maps.
Right. Okay.
Same company, Infinity Ward, although the internals have changed a lot. You look back at their maps; they're very uncluttered. If there's any kind of variation in height, it's very obvious. There are a few windows. Even like plants and stuff. There aren't very many of them around the map, and that actually makes it a really streamlined experience. For me, it always likens it to paintball.
Okay, right.
If you play on an inflatable paintball map, one of them, it's always very uncluttered. You can see kind of anything going on. You know where you're going to move to. Whereas in this, I find that there are more nooks and crannies that you can possibly account for when moving through. And the problem with this is actually not that it gives everyone one place to hide. It's the fact that you have to check everywhere that somebody could hide.
Right.
And it actually makes moving through the map either very risky, if you're just going to go for it, or very slow and time consuming.
Okay, so people will end up playing in a much more sort of cautious manner.
I actually know what you mean by that because I noticed that I was doing it in one of my commentaries or whatever. It's like you walk into rooms and stuff like a SWAT player, like a member of a SWAT team, and you're like checking every corner and like going, then like pushing in and then checking the sides of the doors and everything before making it in. I think it took me like 30 seconds to get through a whole building. Like normally in COD you just like run straight through, but because like everyone's trying to adapt to this game and like going, how do I play this game? Because it's like if you go to any other COD, you're used to just running and gunning, going straight through. In this game, people will do that and they get absolutely destroyed. So they're going like, what do I do? So they sit in corners. It's like everyone's answer. I'm not doing well. Sit in a corner and wait till someone runs past. Like I know watching my dad play COD, it's painful, and it's just like he has no clue what he's doing. He just
Does he play a lot?
there.
Does he?
No, he doesn't play very often. But I like sit there, just like having breakfast or something when he like has a quick game in the morning on the weekend or whatever, and you just look at it, and it's just like. He'll just sit there, and it's just like, this is what the general COD player will do, and that's especially in publics. That's why competitive always plays so differently to public matches, is because you don't have those players who don't play very much, and will just do those things that no one expects. And that's the big thing with Ghosts, is you can't run through a building like without being sure there's no one going to be sat in a corner, because there's like Bryce was saying, there's so many nooks and crannies. There's like grass, like I can't remember, I think it's like Stormfront or something. Like you just get people lying in grass with a knife and you'll just be running along and it'll just pop up and stab you in the back and you're like, wow.
Ghillie suits as well.
Oh god, don't.
We just literally lie prone to grass and no one can actually see.
Yeah,
you.
it's impossible, and there's not even a name tag.
I've forgotten the name of it now. Is it Stronghold or what is the giant map?
Stonehaven.
Stonehaven. What on earth is that? That is one of the maps that I jumped on it and I went, right, this what on earth is this map?
It looks cool.
It looks. Don't get me wrong, right? It looks amazing. It's a very beautiful map.
Stick 24 people on it, and
It
it'd
is.
be awesome.
However, there are more snipers on that map than I'm sure than anywhere else in the game. It's just, I was running around the other day and I stupidly had an SMG out. So I'm sitting there and I'm like, this is my first chance on this map and there is no way I'm hitting anybody here because they are just spread across a kilometre of this map, hiding in all the buildings. Don't get me wrong, it's a very beautiful map. I can see what they're trying to do, but 4v4 is an absolute impossibility. 6v6 is difficult.
Just because there isn't that engagement, you're
Well,
constant. People are hiding, or it's so big that you don't actually come across anyone
We talked about this
as normal as you would do.
before, actually, about the battle. I always said there's always an imaginary battle line. You can always kind of tell where the action's going to kick off.
Yeah.
Like a no man's land.
Yeah.
You know there's going to be players in that area looking at it. Stonehaven is one of the maps that isn't one. It just
Right.
isn't. You cannot tell most of the time where anybody is on that map. You're just running into it, and you're just like, I really kind of hope there's nobody hiding somewhere because you got to just kind of keep your head down and try and hide away. And for me, I don't really like playing it because you go from one. Like I played Cranked on it, right? And I must have died by just blowing up 4 or 5 times because I killed one person and then basically just had to do a complete search of these acres of wilderness to try and find another
somebody
person.
else. Yeah.
That comes back to what you were saying before as well. Like you have to check every nook and cranny. But that said, the maps are so big, it takes so long to get anywhere. So when you're playing Cranked, you've got 30 seconds to kill someone. You've got to check every corner. And there's no one there. By the time you get to the next area, you're dead.
You're
Because-
bricking it by about
Yeah,
10
yeah.
seconds. You're like, oh my god, I've actually got to
It's
start
actually
moving.
Like Stonehaven as well. It doesn't feel like a map. It feels like 3 maps in one. There's like 3 different areas. If you play Domination, there's one flag, another flag on the other side of the map. That feels like a completely different map.
See, for publics, I don't think we can properly judge it yet until because it's obviously been built for the Xbox One because but because it's such a big franchise, they had to kind of like cover for the Xbox 360 and stuff because otherwise it'd be like, oh sorry, Xbox 360s don't get it, and that just wouldn't be viable for like a thing like Infinity Ward or something like that. But they had to also like comply or something for the Xbox One because they couldn't not have a title on for it unless they made 2 CODs the same year, and that's just never going to happen. So I think they've gone Xbox One because I bet you originally there was wanting 9v9 on Xbox 360 and it just wasn't working for whatever reasons, like the hardware couldn't deal with it or whatever. And if you had 9 people on those maps, I think they'd play so much better. Like that's why I can't wait for the next gen release because then we actually get a proper feel how they're meant it to be in publics. But then again, it goes down to competitive and what you guys are going to do when it comes down to EGLs, MLG and stuff like that. What are they going to do? Like, will they be able to like shrink the maps, like cut off certain points and kind of like make their own maps, like bring those sort of rules in or something like that, if possible? Because I think they're bringing stuff in for.
I suppose that sort of some of that stuff remains to be seen, doesn't it?
Yeah, Infinity Ward and esports is the big topic, I suppose, of the moment because. You know what? I'm gonna explain this actually. As far as I understand it, now this is completely unofficial, but as far as I understand it, Treyarch took a risk essentially doing the esports thing, and obviously when Infinity Ward look at Black Ops 2 when it come out, obviously that's a year into the development cycle. People forget this. It's a 2-year cycle, but they overlap. So Infinity Ward have already been making the next game for a year. So obviously they're going to look at Black Ops and how it's doing. First 3 months of Black Ops 2 competitive was actually not very good. Wasn't big numbers, didn't make a lot of impact.
Mm-hmm.
It's only really when it started warming up to Call of Duty Champs and the big tournaments started coming in, like Gfinity, that the numbers really grew and it got this huge player base. It increased. We're no longer the 0.1%. It's actually a good amount of people that will try league play, try competitive. You know, you can. I'm guaranteed as developers probably now see the stats of things like league play throughout the season, the way it increased. But of course, Infinity Ward can't wait, to the end of the game to go, oh, now we'll introduce it because their game's already out. So 1 year, 3 months would have already passed before they've seen anything going through, and they'll be like, well, nothing's really happening. So our game's almost finished now and going into production testing. And, well, we've got to make a choice.
Well, that's an interesting standpoint because I suppose they're not to know really
Well,
what
they-
actually
it's
it needs from an
impossible for
esports
them, though.
perspective.
It's literally impossible for them to know from one game to the next.
Because by the time they find out, the game's practically done and finished.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's not an ideal solution. It's
Yeah.
something that can be looked at, and the
Yeah.
fact that they are even registering us on a community level is something that we've never really had before. Black Ops 2 started doing it. Infinity War could have just gone, nah, we're done with this. We'll do COD Champs and you lot can just disappear. We're not really bothered. But they haven't.
Yeah.
They've addressed it already in environment with esports. The Call of Duty Ghost launch, which you saw, there was a massive VT about esports as
Yeah.
well. So they are listening, and people go, oh, they're listening, and rah, and people are always so quick to hate. So very, very fast. Don't get me wrong, right? Criticism is the key driving point towards any developer. You have to tell them, because only the squeaky wheel will ever get greased. But some people, like, I haven't seen any death threats yet, but we all know it happened on Black Ops 2. We all know it did. I mean, there was a thing about tweets to Vonderhaar
Yeah.
about all the death threats he got, and now you send it back going, damn, did we have it good?
Yeah.
I
Okay.
mean, we need people like Hastro and Vonderhaar and all that sort of people to actually register and get down to what it is, because quite simply, a lot of people still don't understand esports in that kind of development stage. And we know it did. I've heard.
Well, they probably understand it now, but they didn't understand it at a time when
exactly.
maybe they could have, from a development perspective, that they actually had a chance to do much about it then,
and
because there wasn't much evidence at the time.
exactly, this is the entire point. Developers, like, I've heard arguments that have been had by developers. They'll look at the statistics from their back end, and they'll be like, "Oh, domination massively played. It's fantastic. Everybody, we should get this in competitive." Or kill confirmed. This should be in competitive. Everybody plays it. And until you really explain to them why it's a big, you're like, no. People play kill confirmed because they want to mess around and get streaks. People play, domination for the exact same reason. They know where people are and they can shoot them very easily. It's
Right.
not about winning. So these game types don't work in competitive, because as soon as you put money on the line, the worst of humanity comes out in somebody trying to win.
Yeah, true.
The case in point, and this, I'm so glad Call of Duty XP happened, because it's given me the best example you can ever use to explain this. There was a game between the French team, I believe it was Mythics at the time, and an American team, I forget their name. But they played Kill Confirmed, I believe, and they had to replay the map 4 times. They replayed the map 4 times, and in 40 minutes, a total of 12 kills were made. Because this is it. Nobody wants to go out and challenge, because if you die, the other team's winning. So both teams just stay back, because for £1 million on the line, that's what you're going to do.
Well, yeah, and that just totally sort of detracts from the spectacle of it all, doesn't it?
And that's something that kind of has to be explained, and you have to go through and go, look, we understand, your statistics might say this. But we know when we put it in this kind of environment, that's going to happen. Same thing that happens throughout all of esports. You're going to have people on GBs disputing, and you're like, oh, why would they do that? Well, because they don't want to lose.
Yeah.
People don't want to lose. People
Yeah.
like winning.
Yeah.
And they would do anything for it to happen, especially when there's prizes on them.
Well, exactly. Especially the size of some of the prize pots
Yeah.
these days.
And that's it. It's a difficult grasp for a developer, because no developer goes, "Oh, I'm going to make an esports game," because that would be dumb as hell. It'd be so stupid for anyone to go. I mean, League of Legends, I guarantee, when it first came out, their business model now revolves around esports, but I guarantee the first, making of that game probably wasn't.
Well, of course not.
Because you can't go, oh, I'm going to make this game competitive. There are great, fantastic games in the past, like Shadowrun, that was fantastically competitive. The skill curve, everything about it, complicated, fantastic, flashy plays, but it didn't pick up on a mainstream value, died. And it's difficult for people to understand.
Is that a targeting issue though? Because I suppose if you sit down and try and develop a game which is just literally designed for esports, are you just saying, well, because a proportion of the audience plays competitively, it then just sort of alienates everybody else? So do you have to aim mass market first? Do you have to say, right, well, there's a game for the community, and then you develop parts of it for esports?
I have a theory about this. It works both ways.
Right.
I've always believed that an esports community will find everything out about a game much better than the casual player. So they will know, realistically, what's the best gun to use, what is the best route to run, everything like this. They will know the best maps. But because they're a small minority, obviously the community will just kind of ignore them. The casual players will be doing whatever on earth they want. But those competitive players will know the game better than just about anyone but the developers.
Yeah.
So, and I guarantee, if you took everything that the competitive community says about the game and did it, the casual players would love it. 100% believe that, because we just try to make the game as. You got to remember, right? Competitive players don't want a boring, sit there do nothing game. They want fast, frantic gameplay with the intensity of a competitive game like esports.
Yeah.
And that's what they want. And I guarantee you push that forward into the casual market, and that's what people love. That's why people love COD 4, because that's all it is.
Okay. That's a really good point. I mean, you're probably a really good example, Benny, because you're a successful
no,
YouTuber. You make videos so that people can watch your videos. They listen to you.
Yeah, no, that's what I was just thinking. Like when you were talking about the competitive players, the game like inside out and everything, and like how you couldn't make a game just purely for competitive people. Like YouTube and stuff will kind of consider themselves like casual, like standard gamer and stuff, and they just do it for fun. They make videos and stuff on it as well. And then we've kind of been getting dragged into the competitive. That's what like you were going back to and saying like we actually, because of how we've seen it, how it's going, and how we got such a high when we went to EGL and were actually winning maps. It's such a different kind of like borderline levels. Like when you're a casual gamer, you don't kind of think about that sort of stuff. You just hop on for like a couple games, go like kill some people and whatever, and you don't think about the small little mechanics and stuff that the competitive players go into, because you're looking at every little detail, like how this corner can be used to our advantage or whatever. No one ever looks at that. And like, but from a casual point of view, you don't really care. Like, you just want to go into a game and the stupid. That's why like competitive only games won't ever like kick off supposedly. And but the thing is, the COD community has all started like casual, and it's slowly moving into competitive because of how things like the COD championships and stuff are done. And it's just like, it's actually really, really fun. And I think League play gave so many people an insight into it, and like, oh my god, this is actually fun playing for a win. Like while going on like a public match domination and trying to get like a 200 kill game or something like that, you don't get as big a kick from it as beating someone who can actually shoot back as well and are actually trying to win.
I think you've just nailed a very good point there that you should probably elaborate on, because you do the gameplays and you do these big things, and you said to me at EGL, especially, you said that was a bigger rush than getting the big gameplays.
Yeah, it's a thing though. Like you do get that rush though, because like, other people on the other team have practiced for this. They're really good teams. They all can play, and it's like it's actually a challenge. You're not just going repetitively trying to get this lobby, like this dream lobby, all the gameplay guys go for, whatever they call it, to get the gameplay so they can push the boundaries. Because that's what the kind of gameplay YouTubers do, is they try to push the boundaries of trying to get gameplays, and like get ridiculous scorelines and stuff like that. While competitive, it's all about the win. Like one person could do badly, but one person could go completely off, and you just get that high that you don't get because they can shoot back. You're playing people like my dad who just can't play COD on public matches. I think that's why everyone's starting to like look at competitive and go, this is actually really fun, because you're actually playing people with equal skill level, and it's something different compared to what we're used to anyway. And that's why I think like Infinity Ward, us listening, because I think Infinity Ward are doing a great job at actually listening to you guys, because I've spoken to Tina and everyone, and they're doing as much as they can to sort it out for everyone. I think that's the thing, that's what's like from their tweets and like the stuff they've been putting out, they are listening. But you were saying it's been a year into a development, into a game, and you can't, people don't understand how much time it takes to build this. They're like, oh right, you just push a few buttons and it's done. Like they're doing the best they can, I think, and I think they're doing a really good job. So, but I'm hoping it will like do as well as it has Black Ops 2, because like we're going into it. I think we're going to be at doing iSeries and stuff for like YouTube. A team went EGL, so much fun. And
You enjoyed it?
yeah, like that's the thing. We went to my first competitive event really was Gfinity 1. Like we got invited along. We're like, oh yeah, let's go along. And then we went back home afterwards and just played a weekend of League play. And you find yourself getting proper into it, like going like, oh, just for a flag cap with like public matches. Oh, we've lost. I'm gonna go make a cup of tea. While like you start shouting down the mics, going ball the flag, and just go for it. Like you don't get that in like public matches.
Yeah.
I think it's like a bug. Like I think the whole COD community is starting to catch.
Yeah.
And it's like you can see it with League of Legends. It blew up. Like the competitive scene, I think it's going to do the same with Call of Duty, because everyone's starting to get into it, and
Yeah.
I think everyone's stepping up and actually taking it into account now, because
Yeah, I
you just
think
looked
so.
at it as like a 0.1% minority or whatever. Oh yeah, who cares? It's like hardcore gamers. We're not hardcore gamers, but like it's the numbers that
The
streams
competitive
are getting
element
now.
is addictive now. Yeah.
Yeah, the numbers that the streams are getting and
Yeah, it's
everything,
crazy.
it has to be taken into account now. It's getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and it's just going to keep going on, especially when you get such like big teams and stuff like going full into it, and they're pulling ridiculous numbers in streams. It's going to build and build, and I think like Infinity Ward are going to have to take that into account, which I think they are doing, because
Well, it sounds like they're making all the right noises,
Yeah.
so we'll sort of see. So we're talking about competitive and how you kind of chase the need to be a winner. We're in the presence of a winner. Jake, 2-time EGL champion the other week. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Must be nice. There's a nice little smile on your face to win that twice in a row now. Well done. How was it?
Well, when I was first time, I was kind of like, I never thought I'd win because I had the curse, the infamous curse. So when I won the second time, I was like, oh wow, I never expected it, because Epsilon is such a good team, the best team Europe's probably ever produced. So So when we went to that event, we're kind of like top 2, that'll be our aim. If we lose against Epsilon, fair enough. They're a better team. We have a pickup. So when we actually beat them, I was so happy. Like not as happy as the first time, and it is kind of like a EGL is kind of like a dying event really. I feel a bit harsh saying that, but it's kind of you can see it in the event itself. It's nowhere near as good as it used to be, and there's less teams than ever used to be. But it's still a big event, I guess, and the competition of teams at the event was still quite high. So yeah, it's always good
No, because you're a good standard of teams there, so don't sort of shoot yourself down too much. It takes a lot to walk away from a tournament having won it twice. That's superb, and beating competition with the likes of Epsilon. Obviously, you guys deserved it. I watched and you all played incredibly well. You were saying before though, what was interesting, but how you felt that the win came from the fact that you were all a bit more relaxed because you were playing against Epsilon. You kind of dropped your expectation. You then relaxed a bit more, and you think that sort of helped facilitate the victory in certain aspects.
Well, I think I was saying before, different players have different mindsets going to games. Like players like Josh, they get hyped and they play really well. He has to get hyped. Whereas, say, a player like me, the more relaxed I am, and the more I feel like home, the better I play. If I get hyped, I kind of get more likely to get a bit nervous, a bit anxious, and make stupid mistakes I wouldn't make. So yeah, when we played Epsilon, it was kind of like, if we lose, I'm not too bothered because we still got top 2 and they're an amazing team. There's no expectation on me. So when I was playing that game, I played really well, just simply because I didn't expect myself to win. And I think because of that, we as a team we played a lot better. Because earlier on we were really struggling. We lost a game in the group stages against Enigma, which we never should be losing. And then we struggled against Orbit in the winners bracket, and we're struggling against other teams. And then we just went off against Epsilon. So I think that's definitely a factor in it. But I think as well, it's to do with the fact that Epsilon, I don't think they played as well as they could have. Maybe it's something to do with the hype. Like the crowd the EGL, even though the final was really intense, it was probably the best final we've seen all year from European teams.
Mm-hmm.
The crowd and stuff wasn't as big as you usually see. It wasn't kind of that LAN atmosphere. Like we went ESWC last week, and that crowd was amazing.
Well, that looked insane.
Yeah, it was probably the best crowd I've ever.
How
played
many?
for.
How many were there?
As far as I know, seating just for that stand was 4,000, or space was 4,000. But apparently it overflowed.
I was going to say, because it looked like there were people around the sides and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looked amazing. What was that like playing in front of that many people?
It was unreal. Like with MLG, there's a lot of people.
Yeah.
But there's nowhere near as many. And the French fans are really, really passionate about it as well. They don't just sit there. They're literally there for COD. And
You can understand that.
And they're screaming for you. Like you make a play, you've got soundproof headset on. You can't hear anything, but you can still hear them screaming when you do something really good, and it fires you up, and it's unreal. And you have to get up and stuff. And there's the dances and stuff, and there's like bass and fireworks and stuff. It didn't feel like a COD event. It just felt like a show or something.
All right, that's great though.
Yeah.
But so again, we'll come on to MLG because Columbus is coming up week the 22nd to the 24th of November. Europe's been represented by TCM and Epsilon. You've been to an MLG event. What's that experience like?
Well, MLG is, as I was saying before, is unreal because it's such a big event.
Yeah.
But at the same time, as a European, you kind of represent your continent, so it's a lot of pressure on your shoulders. In the past, European teams have had a bad show, and I think the highest placement of a European team was Infused back in 2011, which was me, Flux, Gunshi, and Excellence, and we came 13th, which is kind of disappointing because the European teams, they are on the same level as the Americans, and they are capable of winning events against Americans, even though you have the likes of Optic Complexity, the past two games who've dominated. That doesn't really reflect the standing from European against American teams. So I think if you look at Gfinity as well, we've had a European-American final twice.
Yeah.
It just shows how close it is.
Yeah.
So it's really unfair that last time we went, Prophecy and Epsilon went, we both came top 24, was really undeserved. But it's just that whole expectation thing. You know, TCM and Epsilon both capable of going and winning. Both should be deserving top 8 placements, but it's that expectation and getting over that kind of that people expect the pressure.
There is a lot of pressure, yeah.
And away from home turf as well, you're playing in front of the crowds of the other teams. There's no Europeans there to cheer you on. They might have little fan bases, but
I was there in Anaheim. I was clapping and screaming and shouting,
I'll be
but I'm only
cheering this
one
time
voice.
round.
But one against 10,000.
Yeah, exactly. Even my big booming voice pales into insignificance. And Bryce, you're heading out there. You're excited, aren't you?
Yeah, I've been a fan of MLG way back since like Halo 2, so I've met most of the people I want to meet from like that sort of scene. So like I was a big fan of T Squared and obviously Puckett, who I've now cast with. So that's like, oh wow, I'm now meeting these guys I used to watch. Going to MLG, I always wanted to go. This is because I'm not down in the casting roster. I'm not an official. I've always said I'll go with the Europeans. I missed out going with Epsilon and Prophecy last time, and I was like, well, I kind of want to go. And I mentioned this in a chat I was in, and TCM approached me and they said, look, we want to go as well. We kind of want to help do some content and all that sort of stuff. I was like, yeah, all right. If a European team's going, I'll go. So it's kind of a dream come true for me. I've always wanted to go to MLG. I've watched, like I said, since Halo 2, Halo 3, all that sort of thing. I even watched the Black Ops 1 season. So I'm just so pumped for it. I really can't wait. It'll be the only event I haven't actually been to. So
okay.
In my sort of going around the houses.
Yeah.
So I'm really looking forward to it. Of course, like Jake said, there is the expectation of teams. There's always going to be that small chance that they don't play as well wherever they're going, and it always seems to happen. And I don't know whether or not it's because when they come off the stage, instead of being surrounded by all these players and they know like the Europeans and like, don't worry about it, you're okay, that you come off the stage and there's no one really to talk to. I imagine there's maybe the other team you're there with and a few others, but then it's a hostile environment.
It is.
It is a hostile environment, and you've got to remember that it is a big stage. MLG is a big name in the entirety of, especially like Call of Duty.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you win an MLG, you're then very well known. Everybody remembers who you are, and I am seriously looking forward. I think the hype is right. I actually want to talk a little bit about the two teams going on.
Well, I was just going to say, I mean, we're hearing Epsilon or Epsilon. We know what Epsilon are capable of. Everyone's talking, and we were talking again before this about how hard TCM are working and how well they've already started playing.
That's a great point, because I wanted to ask about the change that they've just made, kind of come out of the blue. And I'm glad Jake's here, because Jake used to team with Rich for quite a while. And Flame Retardant and.
I team with Gunshi, yeah. I team with
So-
Epsilon as well.
So give us your kind of I kind of want to know your opinion on it all.
Well, I think the new game as well is a big factor. I think if this was still Black Ops 2, it would be a bit of a weird decision. But because it goes as a new game, it's a good move. It's a good time to make the move. I think Epsilon will struggle a little bit with their roster, maybe just because the game is so different. Their playstyle's gonna have to change drastically. I'm not sure how they'll cope with that. They should be fine, but they're one of those teams that they might struggle to make a change like that. But with TCM, I do think Gunshi was a really good pickup. He gets a bit of stick, like undeserved stick, I think.
He's always the best at the start of a game.
Yeah, well,
always the best.
He's
I don't know what it is about him at the start of the game.
No one's doubting his ability. He's one of the top players, always has been. But for me, like I've teamed with him as well. Like one of the problems that I've found with him is just his inability to keep up with like changing metas. And with Black Ops 2 was the first COD where metas really did change at a fast rate. There was you had like so many changes. It went from hardpoint know how to play it to anchoring to holding maps as a team. A lot of changes. I don't think he quite kept up. But with this game, he does, as you're saying, he's at the start of the games, he's always the best because he is a very good player. There's not really any metas yet. But I think if he puts the time in with his team, which TCM are known for grinding it out, I think he can be a really good player, and I think he'll slot into that team perfectly. He's a solid AR, and he fits Infinity War games. You look at Modern Warfare 3, he basically single-handedly got his team to second at COD XP. So it just depends really on how his team can play around him. I think the players to look at, maybe Flux and Moose, because they are kind of S&G players. In this game is kind of AR orientated, but I think they can do well. And Marky B looks really good in this game as well. He's always been underrated as well. I think he's one to look out.
He's really coming into his since the guy is setting it on
since
fire.
G1, yeah. Since G1.
Just absolutely every event he goes to is going huge.
Yeah, like TCM, he just suits that team perfectly. He plays for other teams. He doesn't really look that good, that special. But something about TCM, he just fits in perfectly, and he's like the leader. And everyone works around him. And you watch him play. He plays phenomenal. EGL, his team underperformed a little bit. I know they had trials to pick up, but if you're watching Marky, he was going off for the whole event. Even Madcat said to him, like he gave props to him. And Madcat is like his biggest
That is
hater.
one of the most hardest things to do is to get props off Madcat, and Madcat was like,
Especially considering how vocal Madcat was about Marky prior to Gfinity 1.
The amount of stick you gave Marky at the G1 thing when we spoke to you, he went, he's good now. He's respect to Marky.
Well, okay, that's decent progress made then.
Last thing about TCM, the departure of Rich from competitive gaming. Yeah. You've played with this guy. You've known him for a long time.
It's always bad to see. He's a good friend more than just a teammate. So it's always sad to see him go. But he always will kind of be in the scenes a bit. But it's sad to see, especially with TCM. They've always been that Flux and Rich, that core of the team. So to see that go is a bit sad. But then again, I think a change was needed. TCM's roster was unchanged for a long time, and they were kind of being inconsistent. They had the second at Gfinity 1, which they kind of rid for a bit, and they kind of every other event they didn't get top 3. I don't think they got one top 3 placement after that. So I think a change was kind of necessary. Rich was I spoke to him and he said he kind of was losing that strive to play the game that he used to have, which is fair enough. And I think the change is for the best. Yeah.
Fair enough. I was quite sad when Rich left, I'll be honest with you.
You get quite emotional though.
I do. It's Monksy and then Rich. Are you kidding me, TCM? Heartbreaking.
Who else? When one other player decides to call it a day, who's going to make you cry when they go?
Jake will make me cry. I always give Jake a lot of stick at events. We end up talking a lot between events as well. So I try to talk to a lot of the top players between events, just because I always find you can tell exactly how a team's going to perform if you know the mental attitude of the team going in, and you find out things like, we haven't practiced. And, I'm not happy with this guy, and all that sort of things. I always make sure to talk to them, and a lot of them are quite good friends now as well. You realise that these guys are no longer. Well, I've always been a fan of the players, but now I'm connected on a level. You're like, okay, now I kind of see you for who you are, not just your persona in game.
Yeah, exactly. You can see read between the lines, get behind the facade, if you like.
It always amazes me because I know a lot of people think of these players like one dimensional. He does this, and you realise they've all got their own individual stories, and they all think this, and there's things about them you didn't know, and the interactions between players between events and stuff.
Yeah.
Because then you get this tiny spotlight, and the majority of the time, all you see is their gameplay.
Yeah.
And you don't get to see the person behind it. So that's always been the great thing for me. So I do love talking to the players, and some of them are just so clever, inside and outside of COD. It's fantastic.
Well, that's good. I mean, that part of the stuff you're going to see coming from the Gfinity studios over the coming weeks is really to provide that human element, so you can see these guys behind the videos, behind the gameplay and all that stuff. You see Brycey all the time, inside out by now.
I only have one dimension. Just one.
Just the one. Just the
hair.
one. Just the hair. His hair, yeah. It's all hair.
Yeah.
So we'll call it there for today. So thanks very much for joining us, Benny. Thanks very much. Good luck with a competitive career. I think you're going to do well. Confident.
Well, this time we've won a map, so we're happy. We actually no. We went in to win a map. We won a couple series, so we can have. We'll see how we can do. We'll see how we're doing, guys.
Any team happier to lose. I was so pumped. I was like,
Well, that's the
yes,
attitude.
I'm pumped.
They're just happy to be competing. That's the right place to start.
Everyone was like, we're going to get knocked out first round, and we've got through a round, and we were like, oh my god, we've gone above everyone's expectations here.
I was surprised. I said to him after the event, I said, "You're actually pretty good. You're actually pretty good." I said, "It's obvious you guys like some of the setups. You know, just had no idea." I was standing behind them, giving them a nudge in the ribs. Go left. But however, their shots are fantastic. 1v1, these guys really can take down, and it's literally only the setups and some of the set pieces and like decision making. Like I could tell that there was a bloke about to come down the right hand side, and they obviously didn't know that because they hadn't played enough of it. But genuinely, I was impressed with. I definitely said it to you after the event. I was impressed with the way they conducted themselves and kind of got used to it. You can see they played 4 games.
I think we played 5 maps before the whole thing. Like Joe, one of our team members, didn't even have Black Ops 2 for 3 months before the actual event.
Yeah.
And we had played 5 maps and came in as a team. We'd played as a team once for like just one little series against some other YouTubers, not even against competitive teams. It was like a pub stomping match. Went into it and we just came out. All we can do is win a map. We thought search would be our best bet because one of us could just fluke a few rounds. Like one of us could play.
Hardpoint was your best as well.
Yeah, I know. That was what we were surprised about. We only dropped 1 hardpoint game the entire event, and that was against Orbit, and we only lost by 50 points. And I think they came 3rd.
Yeah.
Or something like that. So we were really happy with that.
So the future's definitely bright then.
Well, maybe we'll win more than a couple maps.
You never know. We might see you. We might see you at G3. Jake, thanks very much for popping in. All good. What's going to be happening with you in the coming sort of weeks and months?
Well, it's I Series next in a couple of weeks, so we're looking to get a pickup for that. I'm not quite sure what's going to happen with the team, because the whole age thing with Josh, we don't know if we're going to keep him, and we have no idea who we're going to pick up. So I think the plan is just to play the game, just kind of casually, and see how I-Series goes and see how the rest of the game goes. Nothing's final. We've got plenty of time to work things out. So,
Cool.
Yeah.
Nice one. Thanks. Brycey, thank you very much for joining us again. We do let him go home. I know we keep joking about this, but we do let him go home.
It takes me forever to get here.
And you'll join us again. So do join us next week where joining Brycey and myself on the sofa will be Prof Acid and Shane from Epsilon, so we can talk to them about MLG, see how confident he is. Probably very knowing him.
I can't imagine there'd be anything.
For once, I was going to say, for once next week with those two on the sofa, it's going to be hard for Brycey and I to get a word in, so we might just leave them to it. Benny, Jake, Brycey, thanks a million. You lot, we'll see you soon.
This is it.